Well, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to have the conversation with you, and I might have a question or two for you as well, if that's okay. So I've been teaching in higher education for about 20 years now, and I started in the sustainability and climate change field. And increasingly over time, my focus has been specifically on adult development applied to coaching, leadership, climate change, and social change leadership. And so I started to, about 15 years ago, started to integrate a developmental perspective into that work. Graduate, undergraduate programs, and noticing that sometimes students would thrive in the programs and sometimes they weren't. And I was curious about what the differences were there. And also I noticed that sometimes it was easier for students to take on multiple perspectives, to care for more of the world, to have more of an orientation towards creating positive social and ecological change. And then sometimes, for other students, less so. And so I started to wonder, what's underlying some of those patterns? And I started to learn about adult development while I was inquiring into understanding that. And it's changed my teaching more than anything else that I've come across. So I came across a developmental framework and came to understand that as we mature developmentally, we widen our circles of identity, care, and responsibility. And so this gave me some insight into understanding how students were making meaning of themselves and the world. And at first I was excited because I thought, oh, maybe I can use these frameworks to grow people more quickly or to transform how they're understanding themselves and their work in the world, faster. And so that was my original orientation. I thought it was a tool for transformation, which it is. But I realized as time went by that actually it's more deeply respectful to endeavor to meet somebody where they are and to support them on their own growing edges, not to try to grow them into who I thought they needed to be, but to support their development. So that's primarily how I make use of these frameworks now in my teaching work. Sometimes I don't teach the students about the developmental frameworks, but more so I'm just integrating it into how I teach. So some examples of that are recognizing that in any classroom, there's always going to be developmental diversity. And so I listen for how students are learning, how they're responding to questions and engaging in class discussion. And sometimes I'm using the developmental frameworks to coordinate or to support the developmental diversity in the classroom so that they can hear each other more fully. So there might be one student or a few students who are earlier developmentally, some who are later, and sometimes they can't really hear each other because they have such different views of the world. So sometimes I'm using the frameworks more implicitly to help coordinate among those differences, to help them understand each other better, to help them grow and support each other's development in a way. And then other times I'm actually teaching about adult development as a tool or a framework for their own work and their own growth. And I tend to do that. I'm teaching in a doctoral program now in human development. And so I'm directly teaching adult development. And I do that for a number of reasons. But one of the reasons is that the research suggests that when we learn about development, it actually supports or catalyzes our development. So we can say that, it's common in Western cultural contexts that we think when you become an adult, you're finished maturing in your development. But now we know from developmental research that development can continue throughout life. And so sometimes when people learn about these frameworks, it actually helps them keep growing. They see that they're in a particular place and they have a certain kind of maturity, but that there's more to come. And so it makes people sometimes curious and also listen for where else might they grow, and also what might be some of their limitations currently from their own, sort of meaning making.